we've covered quite wholesome stuff so far. But to be totally honest and authentic and transparent, of course, there's some lessons that I've learned which aren't as feel good, like nice. And so the next lesson that I've learned from my father is to stay away from alcohol. Seeing your father turn into an alcoholic in front of you, it's something I didn't understand for a long time. Because this was happening when we moved to this house, or just before we moved to this house is when I first noticed it. I first noticed like cans of like beer being left around the house, and my mum's like face always with like total disgust, and she'd kind of like show me the can and say it's like haram. It's not something we do in our religion, and I didn't understand it. I kind of I knew like sharab, like I knew like okay, it's alcohol, it's like bad or something. Like I kind of knew it. You see it in like cartoons or whatever. But I didn't really know, like, at the time. Then we moved here, and I remember it got a lot worse. It made my dad very angry, violent, abusive. Like, I got disciplined when we were in the other home in Liverpool. I got punished for misbehaving and fighting and stuff, and some things were a bit unfair, like from my perspective as the kid getting hit by his father. But in this house, that's when things genuinely changed. In this house, it genuinely went to like full-on child abuse. It fully went to like fear, violence, no safe space, sink deeper into video games because you're safe there. 6:30 p.m. the ring on the bell, like the home bell, means that my dad's home. Quickly grab a book or grab a PSP, like I didn't have a mobile phone or anything, but a PSP, and go literally lock the toilet door and sit in there for like an hour, knowing that he'll come upstairs, check on me, but I'm in the toilet, so it's fine. He'll go back downstairs, he'll start drinking, and hopefully he's forgotten about me. Maybe he'll check up on my room once more at 9 p.m. already drunk, finding a reason to just be angry and aggressive. My dad is a disciplined, hard-working man. He's genuinely worked 60 to 80-hour weeks for as long as I can remember, like essentially 2 jobs. I don't know if you like can grasp that. Like a full-time job is 40 hours. My dad's literally worked like a little bit above that consistently for decades. And he was not able to stop drinking. I saw him defeated by this vice. I saw after some family arguments, I remember he took he beat my brother. He beat my brother up. I think, pretty sure he slapped me the same day as well. And he felt bad about it. He always had like a weird temper. Like he'd have like a violent outburst at something to do with like me and my brother misbehaving. Me and my brother would fight each other, and me and my brother were probably so violent towards each other because we were learning this at home. Your dad hits your brother, it's like your brother's gonna hit you afterwards. So me and my brother have a fight or something like that, and my dad beats my brother, he slaps me, then we're crying, I'm whimpering in a way that he hated. Like he always hated it when I would cry, so I would like, I don't know why, like when my dad would hit me, I would cry in like a very stereotypical like baby way, where I'd literally like that. I'd literally do that for hours. I couldn't help it, and I'd choke on my own like breath and everything. I had tears running down. I genuinely couldn't help it. Like if he slapped me once, I'd cry for like 4 hours later. For age 14, 15, and kids my age in school, like my male friends in school are literally like dating girls, getting their dick sucked and stuff, and I'm literally here crying like a little fucking baby. And he'd hear that, and it would make him more violent because he didn't like the sound of it. So he'd slap me and tell me to stop crying, and I was crying because he slapped me. So what do you think I did after the second slap? It describing it now is like making my throat really sore, like how it used to. Like my throat would just dry up and I'd choke on my own like throat. It was so weird. And so that would make him more angry. And so there was a time once that this happened, and he really hurt my brother this time, way worse. And he brought then, like, you know, to try and make things up hours later, I remember him going into my brother's room, and I was, you know, like scared, hearing out, is he going in there to hit him again? Maybe he'll come in my room to hit me again. But I heard him talking kind of calmly. I think in this argument, my brother had mentioned the alcohol, actually. And he went to my brother's room and told him to, like, come with him, and, like, brought him downstairs. And I kind of, like, silently, like, crept down the stairs to see what was happening. Like, this was weird. And my dad had a 6-pack of beers there in the kitchen. And one by one, he opened them, cracked the can open, and then poured it down the sink. And as he was doing it, he looked at my brother and said, "I will never drink again." He drank again within a few weeks and continued to do so for years and years and years to this day. He's a very hard-working man, very disciplined man, and he's not been able to overcome this vice. There was a time when he texted me. I had moved away from my family home, and I had pretty much abandoned, like fully ran away from family. I was like 21 years old, and I had blocked everyone, genuinely like blocked all my family, genuinely did not speak to my family for about a year. Just like, I don't know if you could take that literally. I did not speak to my family for a year. Not, you know, exaggerating, oh yeah, I spoke to them. No. Like, I literally blocked all of them. Every number, every social media thing. If I got a new message from a new number, I'd block it instantly. They did not speak to me for a year, right? Eventually, my life was terrible without my family's influence, especially without my mom, like, kind of, you know, giving me like values and everything. And I turned into a total degenerate. I'm smoking weed all the time, playing video games, eating junk, you know, just horrible, like, degen Jeffrey life. And eventually, my girlfriend, who I was living with, so this is like an ex-girlfriend we're talking about now, she gets a message on Facebook, and it's my dad. And he sent like a massive paragraph, and I was kind of expecting this. I didn't even know, but literally my dad sends me a message, just, you know, sends her a message that, you know, they're worried, they've not heard from me, and they wanted to invite me to my brother's wedding. I was literally gone for so long. I didn't even know, like, my brother was like dating a woman or anything. And literally it's his wedding now. Like, you know, it really hit me, made me feel like shit, because I realized like time, like, life moves on. I've been there like a degenerate, like, you know, not speaking to my family. Life moves on. My brother's getting married now. Invites me to like the wedding and everything, and my girlfriend shows me the message, but I just kind of, I don't know what to say. Like, my mental health was so bad, so I just kind of like, whatever. Like, but I kind of, like, you know, slowly warmed up to the idea of speaking to them again. And I remember on his wedding, I just video called him instead, and, you know, he was happy and stuff, but he was quite like upset that I didn't come, and I still hadn't seen any of them for like a year straight. But this was the first time I told my brother, like, my mental health was really bad. And so around this time, I'm still living in a different city, and I don't have my family blocked anymore, but I'm kind of speaking to them more. And I don't know what stemmed the conversation, but me and my dad on WhatsApp ended up speaking about his, like, drinking, about alcohol. And it was just a text that he sent me where he kind of like described his life, but in very short, like, broken texts. And I don't know them exactly, but it was kind of, imagine just like a list of texts from your dad. And it was something like, "I work like a laborer for all of you. For years I've worked 60 to 80 hours a week. And for what? My family don't love me. I don't sleep in the same bed as my wife. Can't sleep if I don't drink. If I drink, my health gets worse. I have a doctor's appointment next week. Might be cancer. It wasn't cancer, but yeah." Like, I always saw like my dad and my mum as like these kind of characters without feelings. I don't know if you can relate, but just they're just invincible. That's just okay. Yeah, my dad. Like I wake up, yeah, my dad's gone. I never thought deeply. Like I wasn't conscious till I was about 22 years old. Genuinely, I was like, I've been AFK for most of my life. I've just been like brain dead for most of my life. So just kind of like, it's just kind of normal that, yep, I wake up, my dad's gone to work and he comes home at like 6:30, and then, some other days he's maybe working more, he works weekends. That's just, what it's always been. I've just never really saw it any other way. But like seeing that kind of message and especially at the time that I was working, like for the first time in my life, I'd graduated from university. It was time to like get out into the real world and work some jobs. And I hated working like shitty full-time jobs. I realized how draining they were. So to hear my dad talk about like, working as like a problem, he's been working long hours and I saw the jobs that he had worked and they're not like nice ones. It really hit me even more. And I remember around this time, he really did tell me of like the dangers of alcohol, like never get into drinking. And so maybe I'm 21 years old at the time, right? For the few years before this point, I had been drinking in terms of like partying. So I'd party very often. I'd go to like clubs and student, university parties and everything, and drink a lot of alcohol there. There was a time when I was drinking more than half a liter of vodka per night out, which was it's a lot. Like you buy a liter bottle for a lot of people, that'll last them a while. For some like degenerates like me and my friend, it was just me and my friend, and we'd finish it before we'd go out to drink. British drinking culture is very bad. It's like you drink before, I know this sounds silly, but you drink before you go out to drink. So you buy a bottle of vodka at the shop, you bring it back, you finish a whole bottle with your friend, and then you go out for drinks afterwards. This is why people in this country are very like that's a big generalization, but in terms of the nightlife here, it's like very sloppy, very messy. You'll go on a night out in some places, there's literally like a 40-year-old man passed out on the floor. There's women who are like falling over, they've got no underwear on, their shoes just falling off. Just very sloppy. People just drink a lot here. And I was one of them, but I was the one who was like throwing up and stuff. So do you know what I mean? I was either genuinely like, actually I'm not gonna say degenerate shit, but yeah, I won't say degenerate shit. But yeah, like I was the degenerate, right? I was drinking a lot for a good few years. About the time that he messaged me, I was just no longer into it because I just didn't party anymore. I had mental health problems and I was just a weed smoker instead, so it just didn't really do much for me. But seeing what it did to my father and seeing that he couldn't quit, even though he genuinely really wanted to, that was always quite interesting to see, because I've seen him work relentlessly. He plays cricket. He's very, very good at cricket. I think he's become the team captain of his club now. And he was like constantly getting in cricket, what's the thing, like trophies or whatever for like, he's a bowler, and he's very good at that, right? So he's disciplined, he's skilled, he's sports, everything, and he just never has been able to quit. It's such a strong addiction, which is absolutely like relentless. And so him saying this to me gave me this life lesson that alcohol is something that you should absolutely never abuse. If you're ever going to abuse it, make it when you're like 18 years old and do it for like a year or something. And even that, it's not even good advice for me to give you. It's just like, that's what I did at 18 to around 20 years old. I just went out 2-3 times a week and I partied. It's not even good to do that, honestly. Maybe it's like, maybe you really want to go see what a party's like and stuff. Okay, fine. You can try a little sip if you want, fine. But it's like, even then, the value gained isn't that much. The value of never having tasted a sip of alcohol in your life is more than every party put together, honestly. The real degenerates will tell you just how worthless degeneracy actually is. And so from this moment, age 21, it's not that I have like a horrible view of alcohol or anything. It's just that like I just have the self-image of someone who could never be an alcoholic. It just could never, even if times of stress, even, I've had big times of stress, never gotten into it. Never. Just, it's not that I've never drank or anything. It's that, like, for example, there was a party in Dubai a few months ago, and I drank quite a lot for that. And my friends were saying like, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever seen you drunk." It's like extremely rarely. I'm talking genuinely less than one time per year. Like genuinely like once every few years will I be drunk. since I've moved back home here since 2020, so just under 3 years ago, I think I've been drunk like 3 times. I'd say that's a pretty good amount. I think that's like a healthy relationship with it. So you might want to go even more strict, but that's what has really worked.